Okay, it says we are live. All right. So, hey everyone, thank you for watching. I actually have, for this particular part 2 of my series on child sex abuse, my new friend, Septimus Kane. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, dear. How are you?
Good. Why what did you take so long to respond?
I don't know. Is this thing lagging or what?
It's not lagging at all. You just took your time to respond. That's all right. I can edit it out.
Responded straight away. That's weird.
Sorry?
I thought I responded straight away, but I don't know.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, we'll just keep going. All right.
Okay.
So I became introduced to the topic of child sex abuse more specifically recently. Obviously, I've known about child sex abuse for years and years and years. Everyone does, but no one really likes to delve into it because it is so heavy. You and I are not parents, so I suppose it's a little easier for us. What is it in your case that has made you so passionate about this particular issue? Because it's a heavy one.
Yes. Well, I do tutor quite a lot of children, actually, and a lot of high school students as well. And I'm involved in a curriculum that my local church runs where we teach students at high school level and also primary school level. So I'm also a Sunday school teacher.
Oh,
So I think, yeah, I'm just interested in children in general. And I don't know, like I'm not a parent, but I have very close relationships with the children that I do work with. And just the prospect that any of them are being trafficked or abused in their domestic environments, that's actually a huge issue. And I believe that society is not actually paying as much attention to this issue as they should be, or addressing the actual scope of the problem, because it's a lot bigger, I think, than people realise. So yeah, that's why I'm an advocate for this.
Well, I think it's very good that you're a voice in this. I felt like when I wanted to undertake the topic, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know where to start. And yours was one of the very first names. So you're definitely, for such a young thing, a very sought after young lady, and you've already developed some fantastic contacts. How did all that happen? Well done.
Thank you. Just through church connections, really, and Christian networking, basically. And, you know, through mutual friends and word of mouth, I think that's how it kind of happened, yeah.
Well, you were one of the very first people to send me through a particular study that I think I slightly illustrated in my first part of this series. And then I gave you some that a child abuse professional gave to me, which I may use for this part 2. But basically, the particular sex abuse that you actually investigate is it's not just child sex abuse that's domestic. It's demonic, satanic, ritualistic, sacrificial type child abuse. Why that? And how did you get your head in that?
Good question. This is the sort of thing I think that takes years of research to actually uncover. And obviously, I'm still young, but I stumbled across this information by coincidence, actually, when I was still studying in high school. And I found these conspiracy websites on the internet, and I started investigating the matter, you know, like Bohemian Grove and these sorts of issues. And I started investigating, I started realizing there's actually quite a lot of factual evidence that underpins some of these accusations and allegations and issue. So I started wondering, why exactly isn't our government cracking down on this issue, and why exactly no one's talking about this? So I got a bit kind of and then I delved deeper into this topic, looked at my local law database and found that there are actually cases on satanic ritual abuse. And this made me wonder, okay, so this is a problem. There is evidence here, so why aren't people looking at it? So yeah, that's where my passion stems from, the idea that this sort of information has to be divulged, and not many people are willing to be an advocate for it.
Well, is part of your rationale behind this that why isn't the government helping because they're in on it?
Possibly. That has occurred to me. I don't have evidence to substantiate that.
No. Yeah.
And, people don't, so it's just speculative at the moment. But you do have to ask questions when there's 17,000 convicted pedophiles here in Australia. There's 90% of these sexual crimes aren't actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. 90% of sexual crimes aren't reported, and 1% of the pedophiles here in Australia are convicted. So you've got 99% of stuff going underreported, and you start wondering why the legal system's so inadequate when it comes to dealing with this issue. And you look at the National Redress Scheme, you look at cases skyrocketing, compensation schemes skyrocketing. So I have issues with some of these compensation schemes because it tends to shush people up, them up, rather than getting their evidence in a courtroom and actually uncovering and investigating the matter like it should be investigated properly. So I think in light of all of that, you kind of start asking questions about why government's not cracking down hard on this issue, but it can spearhead prostitution inquiries, into decriminalising that sort of thing. And that's not a priority. Child trafficking is a priority. So, yeah, you just start wondering why that is. And then the only conclusion you can come up with is that there's got to be corruption in government.
Absolutely. Just before we continue, it's probably worth mentioning to everyone that you're not like me in that you don't just randomly have an interest in this and you've decided to take it on. I'm not an authority on this at all. You are somewhat of an authority. Tell everyone what you're studying and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I wouldn't say I'm an authority just yet. I'm just a law student at the moment. So I'm in my second.
You're more well
but yeah, I do plan on doing.
Sorry, no. Talking over each other. Go.
But I plan on doing post-grad research, hopefully, into the issue of child trafficking, and just shedding light on this issue. And also, I volunteer for a couple of anti-trafficking campaigns in my state. So yeah, that's where my interest, I guess, lies, and expertise, if any.
Yeah, no, that's really good. My plan or my hope is to eventually get someone who has been a victim of the child satanic ritualistic abuse, because people who can live to tell that tale, my God, a Fiona Barnett is the only name I'm aware of, but you've told me of a few more. So hopefully I can reach out to one of them. So that'd be really interesting. Have you ever spoken to any of these people?
Not Fiona Barnett. I do know of Rachel Vaughan, though, and she's very public about this, which is amazing, because the first issue is being able to talk publicly about this stuff. And a lot of victims obviously have good reasons to stay silent because they are persecuted by their traffickers, So a lot of them don't speak up about this. And Rachel Vaughan's someone who has the courage to actually do that.
Good on her. Yeah, well, I've friended her on Facebook, so hopefully that's a pending interview, which would be great. And I'm happy to continue with you. If you have any information you want to give me for my little series here, I'll put your link in the description box below so people can see your YouTube channel as well, because I think you're far more learned on the topic than I am. Yeah. How long have you been researching and studying this and volunteering?
So volunteering for anti-trafficking's only been maybe the past year and a half, so very new still. And studying, I'm in my second year of postgrad, so yeah, not very long at all.
Okay, but there's a light, there's a fire there for you, and do you reckon like that's a God-given thing for you? Like, some people every single person has their issue. Do you reckon that's the one that you're supposed to try and help?
I feel like, I honestly do feel like it is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and can sometimes bash people over the head with this information, which is not great. But yeah, because you don't see a lot of activists doing this sort of research to and it can be quite dangerous, obviously, and can ruin your reputation, even make it harder to get work. So you don't see a lot of activists activists in this space, and I just feel like, well, also I'm not that old. So here's the thing. I almost feel like I have the mentality of a kid.
We're the same age.
I honestly feel like because I work so closely with children already and aren't that old myself, so I only just came out of my teenage years a few years ago, I feel like I do have I'm not kidding, but I feel like I do have a voice, for kids, because I feel mentally like I'm still in that, almost in that headspace still. And the thought that someone like me is being persecuted and trafficked in their homes, I just feel like that's just really abhorrent, and it has to be exposed. And females are doing this more than males, I have to say.
Ridiculous.
And young people especially, because a lot of the older folks, and this is not to offend any of the older folks at all, but I was the generation that grew up with the internet, like in my school, it was under the Gillard government, we got laptops. So we've been researching this stuff for ages, Yeah, so I think it's coming from the younger generation, and there's a fire building in the younger generation, especially on this topic.
Well, they do say the next generation is always becoming the more counter. Well, yeah, it's more conservative. Like, it's cooler now to be conservative than. Yeah. And my future husband, Paul Joseph Watson, said that. So he's pretty cute. But anyway, what statistics? What are the statistics? I'm sure you can give me a paper so that I can base this next video on. But what are the statistics for this child sex abuse, ritualistic, satanic element of it in this country? Obviously, in the United States, I mean, we know Hillary Clinton is a part of it, but like in this country, what are the stats? Like, how common is it?
That's a very good question. I've inquired into this issue. So I've looked at the Australian Institute of Criminology and all of these platforms. They can't give you hard data.
No, they can't. They never will. They never will. They can't. Yeah.
There, did you cut out?
Hang on, you're frozen. Okay, go. So they can't give you hard data. Was the last thing you said? You're not frozen anymore. Yeah.
No, they can't give you hard data because of the nature of how underground this stuff is. It actually requires you to go into people's houses and infiltrate their domestic spaces in order to actually crack down on this issue with the scope it deserves. And people, like law enforcement, can't just do that. They can't just walk into people's houses without a basis of evidence to do that. So here's part of the problem. A lot of these children don't actually have birth certificates, so they're not even on record. A lot of them are born into families of abuse. So it's very hard to monitor this kind of thing and regulate it, if you can regulate it or call it that, because of the nature of how underground and illicit this activity is. And then the other thing is, I've documents under the Freedom of Information Act in order to actually uncover how prevalent this issue is. But because of the pandemic, it's been lagged. So they tell me they'll give me the documents by July, but yeah, they'll come in. So maybe we can do a part 2 for this when they come.
Oh, we'll be up to part 7 by then. It's just gonna keep going.
Probably.
So, yeah. But oh well, that sounds really good. Yeah, it would be nice to know what the overall stats are, even though then it's not hard evidence. It's for sure to have an average would just be nice. A speculated average would be nice.
Yeah, and they can't even give you a proper estimate even because of how lacking the data is. So people need to uncover it.
Oh, it's very disappointing. Well, I think that's all the information I require from you today. But it's extremely lovely to get to know you and to have someone in this fight with me. It's not my only topic, so I know. Is this all you talk about on your YouTube channel, or do you do varying topics?
I talk about a lot of different things.
Oh well, I don't know. Okay.
This is part of what I talk about. I'm also very passionate about the plant-based diet.
Oh, okay. Good for you. You're talking about veganism or literally the plant-based diet?
Plant-based diet. So it's not exactly veganism, but it's close.
Yeah, it's pretty
about, yeah.
Well, I'll promote your channel here. I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to have you along in this ride. And yeah, actually, soon I'll have Dr. Elizabeth Taylor on my channel to be able to. Yeah, she loves you.
I love her. She's great.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll let you go. Thanks for coming on.
Okay. See you, dear. Thank you.
No worries. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that should be okay. Now I'll take it off the live.
I feel like that was horrific.
I'll edit it. It's fine.
Okay.
But if you don't